Testing 1 2. Yeah.
This is embarrassing. Why is it going to be embarrassing? I've been coming for 6 years and I haven't signed the book.
Yeah.
I'll never sign the book today.
You're not embarrassing.
Okay.
No.
6 years feels like I probably should
No,
have done
no,
it by now.
no, no, no. There are people that are sitting in these pews that have been here for decades that haven't signed a book.
Okay, well, I'd like to do it today.
Thank you.
And it'll be after they go to spirit thing, right?
Yes. I do. Like six. I know there's another one here, 5 here, at least 5 or 6 in person, and 2 or 3 online, and who the hell knows how many others will decide. So I don't know. I don't know. Can I have one of the hymnals, the gray hymnals over there? Thank you. And Matthew, you ready to rock? You ready to rock? Let us now settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet, to be followed by the music of Prelude in B-flat minor by Johann Sebastian Bach, played by our music director and pianist, Matthew Johnson. You are also invited at this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow. We light our chalice this morning as a symbol of gratitude. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another. We cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is in sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Payson, and I am honored to be one of the ministers of this congregation. We begin by acknowledging that here in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people, who thrive and remain active as the Nipmuc tribe. If you'd like to learn more about the Nipmuc community, please see the brochure in our foyer. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new or who are visiting with us for the first time this morning. We're delighted that you're here. We hope that you will join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask. And for those of you who find this time an optimum time to nap, we now have a podcast so that if you miss the sermon, you can go on to any one of a number of podcast platforms and search for my last name, Payson, and the podcast will pop up. We invite you now to fill out one of for those of you who are new, if you would please fill out one of the cards found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of our ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you joining us online this morning, we offer you a very special welcome. For safety purposes and so that we might come to know you better, as you're able, please place your name on your video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now being circulated. Though you're not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and we use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by me, please print it on an index card in the pew and drop it in the collection plate when it comes around, or bring it forward during that time in our service. These cards will also be posted outside my office to be shared with our friends at other services. For those of you who are online, I invite you, if you have a joy or a sorrow to share, to place it in the chat, and we will read it during this time in our service. In the foyer, there are listening devices, large print service programs, and hymnals and cushions. You know who you are. If you would find any of that assistant beneficial, please see one of our ushers who will be pleased to assist you. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode. Please note the announcements on the back of your order of service. There will be time for brief verbal announcements following the postlude today. We are so glad that you're here, and we hope this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. At this time, I would like to call our basket bearers forward, those participants in our religious exploration program who each Sunday continue a ministry and service to the emergency fund of this congregation by collecting change. If you have change that you would like to contribute, please raise your hand. One of our basket bearers will be certain to find you quickly. For those of you who are new, this is a weekly opportunity for our children and youth to contribute to the ongoing ministry of this congregation, providing many needs for members and friends and those in our community. Baskets when you're done. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to put these up. Put these up for me. Whoop, 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 whoop. Excellent. Sorry about that. Okay. follow me up? Come on. Thank you very much. Go now in peace. Thank you. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love, thank you, around you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Melissa, when you get up, would you close that door? So, would you please turn in your gray hymnal to hymn number 287, and rise in body or in spirit as we greet the morning. Faith of a larger liberty, source of light, extending all of the church that is to be, all bondage not withstanding. Faith of the free, by thee we live, by all thou givest, and shall give our loyalty, This time I'd like to invite Melissa McKean, the president of our congregation, and a representative from our connections team to come forward. And I would like to invite those of you who are here in person who would like to join this congregation formally in membership to come and join us on the chancel. And I know that there are a number of people online who are also interested in joining, and what I would ask you to do at this time is to raise your hand so that our technology team can find you and bring you up on the screen so that we might also welcome you more personally. Friends, we gather here this morning as an expression of our mutual quest toward personal and religious fulfillment. We gather secure in the knowledge that the truths we seek are not constrained by doctrine or dogma. We recognize that each is here for reasons known only to the individual heart. And yet we gather in common fellowship to effect and sustain an atmosphere of mutual support.
Here, we do not ask that you, excuse me, is this working? Okay, sorry. Here we do not ask you to believe that which is espoused by another. We ask that you follow faithfully what your conscience dictates, mindful that in your search you will encounter other truths, other convictions, other faiths. Here you will be embraced as a member of a common family of seekers, all those past and present who have dedicated themselves to the tasks of nurture, compassion, and action. All those who have been and are sympathetic to a common vision that no one person is an island unto themselves, and we are all members of a larger family of life.
Would the members and friends of the congregation please rise and join together in the congregational affirmation? We, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, welcome you to our church. We invite you to share our common concern for justice and righteousness and our belief that through common efforts we may better shape the meaning of our lives. We pledge to you our friendship and support as we strive to embody the common purposes that bring us here. You may be seated.
This morning, you have come forward of your own free will. It is in this spirit of freedom, honoring your own religious values and respecting those who journey with you, that you wish to join this. To join this religious liberal community?
Please say it is. It is. Then I invite you as a symbol of this commitment to add your name to our register and receive the gifts of fellowship offered this morning. So I'm not going to upstate here. Your name and then today's date, which is the 16th. Jackie McMullen. Your name, today's date. Yep. Randy McLam. Eve Stutzman. Jenny Pasillo. Webka Demling. Matthew Haberstroh. Ali Aslam. Carrie Reed Knox. Tommy Blanchard. And, yeah, there's more. Do we have any of our online folks? Okay, can we bring them up? Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you share your name with us?
Gloria Webster.
Gloria, we are so honored to have you here this morning and to welcome you into membership. We'll be in touch to bring you your rose and
Thank you.
to sign the book. I'm so honored to have you here today. We
Thank
are
you.
so honored to have
Thank
you
you.
here today.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our newest members. What Matthew doesn't know is I just returned from 4 days in Pennsylvania where Haberstroh is probably a very common name, but so delighted to have you all and so delighted to be welcoming people who are here online. I think this is the newest kind of iteration of what it means to belong, is that your presence can be made in so many different ways, and I am so delighted that people were here today to do that. I believe that God is nature, or that God and nature, as far as we can attach any radical ideology to either, is synonymous in terms. Hence, I'm not an atheist, but a pantheist. That is, instead of believing that there is no God, I believe that in the abstract, all is God. It is in God we live, move, and have our being, and that the whole duty of humankind consists in living as long as we can and promoting as much happiness as we can while we live. Not my words. These are the words of once Universalist minister Abner Neeland, who published his creed around 1833 and admitted he no longer believed in the God espoused by most Universalists, most Unitarians, most Congregationalists, and most forms of Protestantism and Catholicism at the time. For this, Neeland was convicted of the civil charge of blasphemy in Massachusetts. The last person, it turns out, to be convicted of such a charge in the Commonwealth. And for his crime, he was sentenced to serve 60 days in jail. Now, lest you think that this was some attempt by right-wing conservative Christians to uphold a particular form of piety, it should be noted that the prosecutor in his trial, as well as the defense attorney, and as the case wound its way to the Supreme Judicial Court of the day, the Chief Justice of that court, were all Unitarians, which is perhaps one of the most telling anecdotes that demonstrated the social distinctions between Unitarians and Universalists in the early part of the 19th century. Unless we think that Neeland's crime was particularly religious in nature, historians like Unitarian Universalist minister and former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, John Burns, point out that his real crime was that he challenged the social hierarchy of the day. Neeland supported the equal rights of women, the equality of the races. He suggested that women keep their names and their bank accounts. He spoke out in favor of birth control and divorce and interracial marriage. That the legal representatives around Neeland were Unitarian was not the only place we find our forebears in the moment, though. As Buren notes, a petition of pardon following the sentence was organized by Unitarian minister William Ellery Channing, and it was signed by other significant Unitarian figures like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Theodore Parker, George Ripley, Bronson Alcott, and the abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison. Unfortunately, more Bostonians signed a counter petition, so 60 days it was. What is significant in this case is that while one might think that a radical religious belief might more aptly be the subject of a heresy trial within the confines of an extra-parochial religious organization like the fledgling American Unitarian Association or the Universalist Church of America, the charge against Kneeland was a civil offense. And clearly the attempt to convict the once Universalist minister was to send a message that religious freedom was trumped by the threat of civil discord that could be associated with radical theological and social notions. After all, if God was in everyone, then perhaps efforts to continue to deny women the right to vote, or to divorce, or govern their own reproductive capacity, or marry a person of another race might radically reshape the power structures which were then and in many ways continue to be controlled by men. And it is this threat of unrest, or perhaps better understood as the fear of this unrest and the fear of the loss of power, which energizes the remainder of my reflection this morning. Eras of social instability brought about by threats to standing social order have occurred many times in the history of our country. As the trial of Abner Kneeland indicates, such times birth all manner of attempts to protect or restore order or some idea of the order that was prevalent in the minds and memories of those who feel most threatened. Kneeland's conviction was the last of its kind, not the first. Kneeland's conviction was a civil matter, but the country also had a history of violent unrest and vigilantism that often paralleled attempts to intervene through the law. One has only to read about the era of the American Revolution and the growth and the maintenance of a slave-based economy in the South to revisit the extrajudicial means by which many social ills were dealt. Case in point, one might best be articulated by looking at the history of Reconstructionism in America. Post-Civil War, it was the birth of the invisible empire of the South, which is what we call the Ku Klux Klan, that formed as a reactionary, extrajudicial, though in many communities those with legal authority belonged to the movement, against black Americans. And 40 years after the second era, after that, a second era of the Klan evolved post-World War I. Both of these related movements were born primarily of the idea that the new social order post-Civil War and post-Reconstructionism before it were associated with newly freed slaves, post-Civil War, World War I, by the influx of a diverse population of immigrants that threatened the power and prosperity of the white majority of the nation, especially the power of white working-class men. Of the later iteration of the Klan, historian Nancy McLean, and she has this extraordinary book that has now come out in a 30th anniversary edition called The Mask of Civility, I believe is the name of it. It's behind the Mask of Civility, the making of the second Ku Klux Klan. She writes, what led mostly middle-class, white, Protestant, native-born men to feel so fearful and embattled in a society in which such people still controlled the main levers of power? McLean found that even minor slippage in the dominant position to which they were accustomed and told they were entitled to proved unsettling enough to rally literally millions to action and make them easy prey for disinformation from ambitious political entrepreneurs who presented a worldview that deftly appealed to every aspect of their unsettled identities and fears about the future. This was 1919. Anyone recognize this? She writes, I've since learned that there is an abiding potential for this to reoccur in modern America. Akin to a virus, I love that, akin to a virus that can go dormant for long stretches only to break out again with sharp shifts in the weather. The pattern so far would seem to be that when most white men feel secure about their standing, the virus stays largely dormant. But when conditions change to the point that they shake the confidence of large numbers of these men, and often their female partners too, and leave them feeling wounded and denied their expected status, the virus can be activated to stunning impact. This happened in the turmoil that followed World War I, and again in the wake of the financial crisis in 2008 and the election of Barack Obama, which led to the rise of the Tea Party movement, and many of those leaders and members went on to become MAGA activists of the Trump base. McLean points out that the Klan movement post-World War II fed on the white supremacist interpretation of history, of settler colonialism, in which European immigrants to North America conquered indigenous peoples, frequently using genocidal violence to displace them and expropriate their land and resources. It was a time then, and I would argue, and I think so does McLean now, when political entrepreneurs turned anxiety into activism. Like the second Ku Klux Klan founder, William Joseph Simmons, writes McLean, and the organization's marketing masterminds, Mary Elizabeth Tyler and Edward Young Clark, who recognized how branding white Protestant male identity politics could make them rich. Like Tyler and Clark before them, but on a much larger scale, individuals such as the right-wing radio guru Rush Limbaugh and Fox television hosts Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Trump advisor Steve Bannon have amassed fortunes from inflaming fear and anger to create an embattled, trusting tribal identity among their followers. The particular brand of white Protestantism that is much talked about today is often identified as white Christian nationalism. And it turns out, like most things that become a mass media meme, the notion of Christian nationalism is far more nuanced than we might have been informed to believe. In their book, Taking America Back for God, sociologists Andrew Whitehead and Samuel Perry reveal such nuances. As the authors put it, Christian nationalism is a cultural framework, a collection of myths and traditions and symbols and narratives and value systems that idealizes and advocates for a fusion of Christianity with American civic life. But the Christianity of Christian nationalism is of a particular sort, they point out. We do not mean, they write, Christianity here as a general meta-category including all expressions of Orthodox Christian theology. Nor do we use such terms as evangelicalism or white conservative Protestantism to the extent that these represent certain theological interpretive positions as synonyms for Christian nationalism. On the contrary, the Christianity of Christian nationalism represents something more than religion. As we shall show, it includes assumptions of nativism, white supremacy, patriarchy, and heteronormativity, along with divine sanction for authoritarian control and militarism. It is an ethic, it is as ethnic and political as it is religious. Understood in this light, write the authors, Christian nationalism contends that America has been and should always be distinctively Christian. reflecting this fuller, more nuanced sense of the term from top to bottom in its self-identity, interpretations of its own history, sacred symbols, cherished values, and public policies. And it aims to keep it that way. White and Perry articulate 4 orientations toward Christian nationalism. The first are ambassadors, those who strongly support Christian nationalism, those who are the base of the movement that we call MAGA. Then there are accommodators, those who are sympathetic, but they're less fervent. They might not go as far as those who are ambassadors in articulating the kind of social norms that are articulated. They talk about resistors, those who actively oppose the idea of Christian nationalism, but who accept that it is a force to reckon with. And then rejectors, who completely reject the premises and spend a lot of energy staunchly trying to refute its effect. And here's the thing. These categories cut across religious traditions, social status, gender and gender orientation, educational level, and political affiliation, even those who are ambassadors. That there is such diversity among adherents of Christian nationalism raises some interesting questions for Whitehead and Perry. Questions like, why did so many conservative Christians vote for and continue to support President Trump despite his many overt moral failings? Contrary to the dominant narrative offered by pollsters and pundits, the answer is not simply white evangelicalism or conservative Christianity. Rather, they show that Christian nationalism motivated Americans, whether they were evangelical or not, to see Trump as the defender of the power and values they perceive are being threatened. Or why do Americans advocate so vehemently for xenophobic policies such as a border wall with Mexico? They write, the answer isn't primarily about political allegiances, rather Christian nationalism, especially when it is held strongly by white Americans, appears to reinforce boundaries around the national group membership, encouraging antipathy and mistrust toward those who do not meet the membership requirements of native-born Christian and white, namely racial minorities, non-white immigrants, and Muslims. Christian nationalism expresses, they write, a particular racialized understanding of national identity. It allows those who embrace it to express a racialized identity without resorting to racialized terms. And then there is the question of why do so many Americans seem so unwilling to acknowledge the injustices that ethnic and racial minorities experience in the United States? The authors write, for instance, the response of prominent conservative Christian commentators toward dozens of instances of police violence against black Americans that have been caught on camera has been largely cold, sometimes even engaging in victim blaming. More troubling than this, they write, their responses reflect the sentiments of millions of Americans. The cause has little to do with religion per se. Rather, Christian nationalism, as they show, tends to promote defenses of authoritarian control, especially when the target population of that control is non-white. They continue, even though Trump's claim that refugees are a terror threat is objectively false, since 1980, not one person accepted as a refugee has been implicated in a terror attack. Not one. The fears of cultural war, however, persist. Even though close to 1/3 of refugees from the Middle East are actually Christians fleeing persecution. They continue, Trump and others believe that the refugee program could operate as a Trojan horse for terrorists. the objective realities regarding the terror threat associated with refugees from the Middle East will likely do little to sway the minds of those more committed to Christian nationalism. As for the relationship between white Protestant Christian evangelicalism and Christian nationalism, the authors note the two categories overlap, to be sure. Roughly one half of evangelicals, by some definitions, embrace Christian nationalism to some degree. And yet, what is really influencing Americans' behavior, being affiliated with evangelicalism, holding to traditional views about the Bible, or advocating Christian nationalism. As it turns out, being an evangelical does not lead one to enthusiastically support border walls with Mexico. Favoring Christian nationalism does. Being an evangelical does not seem to sour Americans' attitude towards stronger gun control legislation. Endorsing Christian nationalism does. Being evangelical was not an important predictor, they note, of which Americans voted for Donald Trump in 2016. Supporting Christian nationalism was. Clearly, what has been so often identified as a religious orientation should more accurately be described as a socio-political orientation, which it turns out finds many of those most maladapted to the changing social circumstances in white evangelical congregations and movements. Much like the Klan before and now, nationalism has become commonplace and has common parlance because of the awakening of a virus, a la Nancy McLean. Once again, we are experiencing an era of religio-political violence, but now judicially sanctioned as well as being extrajudicially manifest. And the political changes to vary freedoms won over the past number of decades. I want you to think about the Klan during the Reconstruction era as an example that might aptly describe what kinds of things we're seeing today. One of the bright points in this study conducted by Whitehead and Perry, at least for me, and the point at which I will conclude my remarks this morning, is it turns out that while publicly Christian nationalism is described as a movement to restore morality to America, the opposite is in fact the case, and it turns out that the more one is engaged in religious practice, the more likely they are to oppose Christian nationalism as a socio-political force. Whitehead and Perry point out religious practice is powerfully related to views of morality that emphasize ideas of care for the vulnerable, social justice, and even reducing one's consumption patterns for the sake of environmental stewardship. Christian nationalism, however, they note, is unrelated to taking care of the sick and the needy and consuming fewer goods. In fact, Americans who embrace Christian nationalism are less likely to believe actively seeking social justice and economic justice is important to being a good person. How many of you will admit that you scroll TikTok? 2 of you are honest. The rest of you lie through your teeth, okay? I'm just saying, okay? So for the 2 of you who actually responded here, have you discovered the particular meme that's going on right now about the woman who did the social experiment where she called like 43 churches? Oh yeah? But you see, you didn't raise your hand. So how is it that you know? Yeah, sure. I'm talking to these 2. Called 43 churches, played the sound of a baby crying in the background, and asked whoever answered the phone whether or not the church would be willing to donate a small bottle of infant formula. Now, what's really important to note here, she never asks for money. In fact, she declines the offer for money if she's given it. She simply wants to know if someone can provide her with that particular resource for her baby. You want to take a guess on how many of the, and this was the last time I saw the TikTok, was 43. It may be going beyond that. How many people answering the phone for churches offered to help her? You say 0, 0, 5, 1, 2, 0. Turns out of the 43, it was about 10. When she initially called, she got that in the last half of her calling, because I think when she was up to like 20 churches, there were only 3. And what's fascinating about this is that many, especially of the larger churches, went immediately on the defensive and started posting letters or ministers preaching from their pulpit about how this was disgusting and how they had been betrayed and this was evil. And, you know, of course people would give formula to an individual, right? But I think what Whitehead and Perry are talking about is actually evident in this social experiment. That the well-being and welfare of people who are hurting is not the primary focus of the people who contend they are the most faithful. Case in point, 105 families came through this church yesterday. 105. Not only did they receive ample groceries in order to get them through the next few weeks and the holidays, we handed out over $2,600 worth of grocery cards so that they could buy a turkey or whatever they needed. And I spent my morning talking with many of them individually about their lives. Many of them are coming here because they've lost their jobs after years of service. We saw 16 new families in that 105, right? Just this month. I believe, strongly believe, that to be faithful to the gospel is to serve those in need, not to articulate a vision of what America is supposed to be, a la its relationship to Christianity. What is clear to me is that as people of faith and conscience, we can abide and ally ourselves with other faith-based movements as we move forward in this. And in the coming weeks, I will be sharing with you some significant ways that we can do that here in the Commonwealth. And while it is clear that Christian nationalism is the newest iteration of reactionary socio-political activism, it is not the first such movement, and I don't think it'll be the last either. But it is also true that in each of the areas discussed today, there were and there are people of faith who have articulated, demonstrated, advocated, and lived a different religious sensibility. So let us take heart. Let us take heart that we are not alone in our efforts. Let us take courage that we are not alone in these efforts. Let us take heart that we are the legacy of such efforts. And finally, let us take our faith seriously. We don't have to take it back, because what's being articulated by Christian nationalism isn't the faith we began with anyway. But we can take our faith seriously, not only as strength and fortitude internally in each of us, but as a harbinger against those and that which would hold faith hostage to a particular political ideology. Amen. And blessed be. So, You all have no doubt been, I mean, those of you who do not scroll TikTok probably do read the news or watch the news. Am I wrong? Okay. So hopefully you've been hearing that SNAP benefits are coming back onto cards. And we as a congregation have been involved in an effort for a number of weeks to provide cards to people in the community who did not see those benefits arrive on time. And the reality is, even though many of those people will finally get benefits on Monday, many of them have had to struggle and find other resources and are literally behind. And so the effort to continue to support them is still underway, and our 50/50 collection today is in service to continuing to provide that resource. One of the avenues through which that resource is being provided is for those of us that work with Worcester Fellowship and with folks that are homeless and indigent in the community, some of which have SNAP benefits, many of which don't, because they fall outside of the social services that are available to them for a variety of reasons. So we are hoping that with today's collection we can provide some of the resources that continue to be necessary, especially for that population. Therefore, our 50/50 collection today will be taken up with that in mind. For those of you who are writing checks, you are welcome, if that check is to relate specifically to your pledge, to mark your check for pledge so that it is counted appropriately. Anything that is not identified as a pledge will be split between the congregation in this effort to continue to provide resources to Worcester's most vulnerable. I encourage you to do that. For those of you who are participating online and want to participate digitally, if you want to have your digital donation represent your pledge, please do make certain that when you use the drop-down menu on Simple Give to choose your pledge. Otherwise, choosing virtual offering will allow that money to be split between the congregation in this effort. And you're welcome, if you would like to contribute digitally, to text 508-231-5335, and your donation will be gratefully accepted there. I want to express the other joy that I have today, and good news is, where is Catherine Roberts? Is she in the room? So Catherine Roberts secured a new donated refrigerator for our congregation. Those who donated have asked to remain relatively anonymous, and so we will do that in honor of that gift to the congregation. But if you have a chance to wander into the kitchen, you will see a new refrigerator. And the staff particularly thanks Catherine because the new refrigerator has a freezer. And so I plan on having ice in my coffee. And that is a really, really good news for some of us. This time the 50/50 offering and the morning offering will be received. So I'm going to try to say this differently because I've memorized it. We offer an opportunity each time we get together to share a joy or sorrow. And we do it because we belong to a community that claims us. And so I want to invite those of you who have meaningful joys or sorrows in your lives to come forward and speak into the microphone so that those that are with us who using our auditory enhancement devices or who are online can participate with us in this. This is a privilege in a denomination and in a movement that puts the onus of the sacred not somewhere else, right? But right here in our midst, in all of those very important moments when we are illuminating parts of ourselves that deserve to be shared. So I invite those of you who have joys or sorrows to come forward at this time and speak briefly into the microphone and then light a candle if you so desire. And for those of you who are online, I very much invite you to place a joy or sorrow in the chat if you desire. We will make certain to share that during this time as well.
I spent a couple of days, I'm Dave Showalter. I spent a couple of days this week traveling to Madison, Wisconsin to celebrate my aunt's 100th birthday party. And given the shutdown, it was a miracle that my father and my sisters and I all arrived in Milwaukee within an hour of one another and drove to Madison. And my aunt can't really hear much of anything. And she definitely did not understand that this was her 100th birthday, but it was very clear that she knew we were all there to celebrate her, and she just was smiling ear to ear the entire time. Thank you.
If I can get up, right? Okay. Good morning. Okay, my name is Susan Crosley. So I have these two dear friends on Zoom, and they always go, "We look for you, but we can't find you." So this is a test. I didn't tell them I was wearing the flowers, but we'll see if they watched. And I just have to share with you really quickly when I was doing volunteer work. And there would always be this woman with beautiful white hair with this big flower in her hair. And this was, a while back. And I would, snicker a little bit. And here she is again. And lo and behold, be careful what you make fun of, because it's only a matter of time. Yeah.
What you ridicule is a prelude to your own legacy.
Good morning. My name is Pauline Corshane. I have two things to say. Last night I came to the potluck, and I was blown away by the beautiful color of the metal doors leading to Fellowship Hall. They're beautiful. The color is so beautiful. So I thank everybody who contributed to that, either painting or designing the whole thing. It's beautiful. And it matches the sign by the road. The color matches the sign by the road. The second thing is that we will not be doing the holiday shoeboxes this year. It's not the right time to do that. But I would hope that we could contribute to the emergency fund whenever we feel that we have enough money to do that. Thank you.
Let me also pause as a joy and thank once again our connections team for this incredible potluck last night. Up until about 5:30 yesterday afternoon or evening, I was actually losing weight. Apparently not anymore, or I have backslid. So, anyway.
Morning. My name's Josh. I also wanted to say the potluck last night for everyone who participated with their talent and their food, and I truly believe breaking bread and sharing a meal together is one of the strongest ways you can build community with anyone. And speaking of talent, I also wanted to shout out our incredible music program, from the choir, the bell choir, our soloists, our instrumentalists, Matthew the Maestro Johnson, like bringing just such incredible talent every week, week after week, and I love it. So, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Biancolo, and I just want to share with you a joy from last week. If you don't follow this, our state senate passed after years of hard work and advocacy, passed the Freedom to Read Act, which is very good news. That would protect librarians, teachers from coordinated attacks, from these national coordinated attacks to ban and challenge books in our libraries and our schools. So what's left is for the House to take it up. The governor said she will sign it if it comes to her desk. So I'm gonna keep her fingers crossed.
Hi, I'm Ali. I just wanted to share a real joy, and that's just this community. I've had a really rough couple of years, and I don't really have any family in the area, and this community has just been so, welcoming and giving and caring and inclusive, and it's been a real, bright spot in my life, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm really grateful to have a place to bring my kids. They became part of the service unintentionally. Those were my two boys that came in. But yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you, and it's a real pleasure.
My name is Lynn Swain, and I have a joy and two sorrows. The joy is, as I leave here, I'll be going to celebrate my mother's 91st birthday, which was yesterday, with all of our family. One of the sorrows is that she's been infected by the virus of Fox News, and that makes it a challenge to celebrate with her. And the other sadness is I was just texting with my daughter during the offering, because the cake that she has made, that is the family tradition cake for birthdays through generations, has fallen apart.
It's a sign.
Hi, my name is Paul, and I got some joys and sorrows. In a lighter note, the sorrow is I burnt the pancakes. But the joys, and the other sorrow I have is my mom passed away on November 5th, 1982. And her birthday was November 12th, and she's not here, obviously. And, but I miss her. I mean, I used to get angry at my mom, it's like, but, life moves on. And the more I found about, like, I can pray, like, I'm in AA, and the thing they say, pray for the person you resent, because if you don't pray for them, you end up just like them. And I found myself getting to that road. And in a lighter note, Tuesday I turned 75.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy Nagy, and I have a joy. I got a new job.
That's a
hallelujah. Yes, for sure. Which pays more than 2.5 times what I'm making now. And it was all because of my son, who said to me, Mom, I think you're going about looking for a job the wrong way. You're not sending out, you don't want your music experience. And I said, well, all my music teaching experience is 40 years old. Who's going to pay attention to that? He was right. Abby Kelly Foster School has just hired me to be the band director in the middle school.
Ah. Congratulations. David, recruit him.
What he said.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa. I have two joys. I don't know if Pauline spoke about this before when I wasn't here, but my cousin Pauline and I went on a little genealogical tour of Canada a couple weeks ago, and the most profound thing that happened there, and I didn't realize it at the time how profound it was, but I've been ruminating on it ever since. I took a picture of the house where my grandmother lived when she was first married, and I was not close to my grandmother. She scared me. She was very, very, very Catholic, and so was my mother. But anyway, she was 19 years old. She got married. She had 2 children pretty quickly. She watched in that house. That's where she had the children. She watched the first one die of whooping cough. And she had the second one prematurely, which in a poor family is not a good thing. But that child grew up to be my favorite aunt. And that's the woman who raised my mother. And I miss my mother. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Andrea. I am excited to share, and this might not be the right time, but I don't know if I'll be here because I've been in and out, as you've seen. We are starting a kids table again at coffee hour, so I will be helping set that up. But any feedback from you guys would be great to make sure that that can flow as well. Thank you.
The age range for a kids' table. None of you qualify. Right? Okay, there you go. Two things that posted online that I want to share. First is Gloria Webster, who writes, "I am so grateful to be a part of such an amazing tribe." I love that. And we welcome her. We again welcome those of you who joined us today formally. It is such an honor to have you in this tribe. And then Francis Schlesinger writes, "My father had polio. We went to the Unitarian Church in Lexington, Massachusetts. The church was so kind to us and brought us many meals." Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of our inner and outermost being, we come grateful for the memories and the stories that remind us that the most sacred thing we can do is care for each other. Care for those on the margins, care for those who are new. Help us to realize that in a world that often points us away from this sacred intimacy. We come today grateful for the stories shared of birthdays and anniversaries, of opportunities to revisit the legacy of our own history in ways that illumine for us what was not once important, but now is. We would be mindful this day of our capacity, even as the world tells us we don't have it. And we would be mindful of the strength and the courage and the faith that we embody in the face of such noise. So as we enter the future, we might clearly be able to stand in the line and legacy of those who have reminded the communities that surround and support them that they are a gift and should remain so. Amen, and blessed be. turn to number 641 in your hymnals. Please. Words from Leviticus. Heed not unreal gods. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap to every edge of your field, nor gather the gleanings of your harvest. You shall not strip your vineyard bare, not gather the fallen grapes of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the alien. You shall not steal, cheat, or lie to one another. You must not take false oath in my name. You shall not defraud nor rob, and you shall not keep for yourself the wages of a laborer until the morning. You must not curse a deaf person, nor put obstacles in the way of a blind person. You shall not be guilty of any injustice, neither showing partiality to the poor, nor deferring to the powerful, but judging fairly. You shall not play the part of a talebearer against your people. You shall not avenge yourself, nor bear a grudge. But you must have love. You must love your neighbor as you love yourself. Would you please join together in our closing hymn, number 1028, found in your teal hymnals.
Thank you.
Rebecca Savage writes, "Spirit of life and spirit of love, we have gathered under the banner of a shared faith. We are born of a welcoming grace that extends and receives love. We are touched by the ways we have fallen short of who we strive to be, and we are here reborn, forged by a greater courage. Let us move from this place encouraged and refreshed for the journey ahead. Amen, and blessed be." Please be seated. Are there any very quick announcements? Run, run, run.
Okay, activist reading group at 12 o'clock in the lounge. Please come even if you haven't read the book. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for all kinds of discussion.
I'll be there. Also, on a Saturday, if you want to join me going down to Webster to hold a sign of fascism, there's going to be a protest in Webster holding signs of fascism. They'll provide the signs. It's against fascism. Yes.
Let me be clear. Anti-fascism.
Let me be clear. All you women who are interested in running away will be running away May 1st through 3rd at the Row Camp again. So I haven't signed the contract, but it's coming soon.
All you men can prepare for a barbecue.
Less of an announcement, more of a reminder for those of us who work for a corporation. If you're going to be donating to one of these causes that he was talking about earlier, check and see if you can get a match.
Seeing no other announcements, once again, worship in this place has come to an end, but our service continues next with refreshments and conversation. Once again, congratulations to our newest members. Let's eat.